All right, guys, welcome to the Copynomics podcast. Today I have Sebastian and sorry, what is your last name?
Kipman, Kipman.
And he's from Australia. Second person I've done from Australia, so that's cool. And what I want to ask you to begin with is, so before you got into copywriting, what was your job?
Yeah, so I went the traditional route of going college, got an undergraduate degree, master's degree, then went into the workforce working in communications in professional sports. I don't know if your listeners would know cricket, but that's like the big sport here in Australia. So it's kind of like the equivalent of working for an NBA or the NFL, but in Australia for the governing body of cricket. So, I mean, there was writing involved, but it was more corporate communication style writing, so very different to what copywriting ended up being for me.
So I know about cricket, not a whole lot about cricket, but it's kind of like, I guess if you were going to go for football here.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like our national sport, maybe closer to baseball. In terms of the player holds a bat and hits a ball, so it's kind of similar to baseball in that.
Okay.
But it's very specific. So to give you an example of how weird it is, this will sound strange to any Americans, is some of the games last for 5 days straight. Each day they play for 8 hours. And then at the end of 5 days, there might not be a result. Like that's how crazy this sport is. So, but for me, like in terms of working in it, like my dream was to play professional cricket. I got to like 18 and I realized, no, I'm not good enough to play this. Like, what's the next best thing? Like, how can I stay involved in this sport somehow? And then I'm like, all right, cool. If I can get a job in this sport, that means I get to like travel the world, meet all the players, do some super cool stuff, and just work in sport every day, which is like a dream. So that was kind of the mentality I went into it. But after a period of time, you do it for long enough, you're still working for someone else, it's still a job. And then that's when I was like, all right, I need to make a decision here to go out on my own. What can I do? And copywriting was this natural first step.
So how did you find it?
Find copywriting?
Yeah.
Funnily enough, it was a forum I was on. There was a guy on the forum who was talking about how I think he had a regular job and he was able to quit his job because he got into copywriting. And like I kind of generally understood what copywriting was, but I didn't fully understand it, particularly like the kind of the science and the psychology behind it. So once I saw him talking about his experience, I'm like, hey, look, I've kind of got a natural tendency to be able to write. Like I write for my job day to day. This seems like something that pays well, gives you freedom, and it's going to get me out of a job. And so that's kind of the way I looked at it initially. As soon as I like jumped into it and started like digging into it and teaching myself, I quickly learned that the style I'd learned to write at university in an office is so different. So I pretty much had to unlearn everything I'd learned as like at university and in the corporate world to kind of write copy.
Yeah, and I used to be in the network marketing world, and it's kind of similar there because people they just don't know how to write. As far as to get somebody to read it. But if you see this big long paragraph, I'm like, I ain't reading that.
Yeah.
So that's one of the biggest things I had to unlearn. I'm like, why are these people writing these little sentences instead of long paragraphs like we learned in school?
Yeah, and definitely.
Now that I know it, I'm like, why would the teachers want to read this? So in the beginning, when you first started copywriting, how did that work out?
Yeah, so I mean, like starting anything new, there's some painful moments. I tried to kind of mitigate that a little bit by I worked with some previous people I've worked with. I just reached out to them and say, hey, look, this is what I'm doing now. Can I do some work for you? And then I actually like went the Upwork route, which was kind of a good way to kind of dip your toes into it without having to go kind of full speed and trying to cold call clients or anything. So that was a good way. The way I looked at it is like, right, what can I do to get paid to learn? Like, even if I'm not getting paid a lot, like initially, obviously taking pretty low paying jobs. But I was just like thinking as, right, every job that I take now, I'm just essentially getting paid to learn. So like, I'm going to have to learn one way or another. You can either learn and not get paid, or you can learn and get paid just by taking small jobs. And obviously, there's some challenges around that because you've got to make sure that the jobs you're taking you're still capable of doing, because you don't want to just take on jobs and not deliver good or something that's up to the person's standard. But yeah, that's kind of how I started out. And like I said, initially, I look back at some of my original copy that I wrote, and like I'm kind of embarrassed. Like I think any copywriter would be like that. You shudder at what you used to write 5-6 years ago, but that's the nature of getting good at anything. You got to suck initially and be willing to suck. And once you can get through that, you'll get good over time.
Yeah, the same thing happened to me whenever I first started. Because there was a guy that he kind of taught me the basics of it, and then he had a kind of a templated sales page, and he showed me what to do, and I completely messed it up. So he sent me a kind of like a little a little video saying, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do this one by myself because you totally messed it up. And then he was kind
Yeah.
of mad. I'm like, man, I'm sorry, but the second one, it was a whole lot better because I figured out what I did wrong.
Yeah, I know that feeling. Like I had people tell me like my work was shit, tell people like take my work and not pay for it. People just ghost you. So I mean, like it's part of the game, unfortunately. Like that shit is painful, particularly early on, but it's just the nature of doing this sort of work.
Yeah, and then you always want to write like you talk, but I'm from the South, and I guess we talk different than everybody else. I'm not sure, but I've had one guy say, "Is that really how you talk to people?" I said "Yeah." I want to change that, but so what niche are you in?
Um, it's an interesting one because I didn't like kind of really niche down, but the way I approached it is like after doing a little bit of work, I kind of, all right, which is going to be the most lucrative, which am I the best at? And so where I ended up kind of focusing on is like direct response, particularly for high ticket items, so like funnels for clients and coaches, so for coaches who might have like high ticket offers. So a lot of that sort of stuff is probably like 90% of what I do, but it's not particularly niche. Like these people are in finance, these people are in real estate, these people are in what else are they in? Like investing. So it's kind of like not so much the niche of what they're doing, but more so the niche of all right, this is high ticket sales is kind of where my focus is.
Well, all right, one more question. I know you're living in Australia now. Did you do anything while you were, because you said your wife is from Texas?
Mm-hmm.
So did you try to do any work while you're here?
Yeah, so it's actually when I started out with copywriting, I quit my job. We moved to Thailand, so it's like we wanted to build a bit of a runway. When my girlfriend's visa was running out in Australia as well, so we had to leave. But then we're like, right, if we go to Thailand, we've got enough savings to live there for like a year, and even if it takes me 6 months to work this thing out, like we're not gonna have to worry because we've got a longer runway. It's way cheaper over there. So headed over to Thailand, worked there online, and then ever since then worked here in Australia, worked in America, worked in where else have I been? Out of Mexico, out of Vietnam. So it's like once you got that initial momentum, yeah, it worked all over the place, man.
Oh, that's cool. That's the cool thing about copywriting. You could work anywhere you want to.
That's right, man. Like I don't know, some people can like bang out high quality copy in co-working spaces, but I find like when I'm on the road, like I still need to have my quiet spots. Like if it's in our apartment or in a hotel room, like I have to have that quiet spot to write good copy. And then like once I'm not writing copy, then I like go and venture out into like co-working spaces and stuff and interact with people more.
Yeah. So when you get your best, like, because you always have some kind of idea and you say, oh, that'll work. When do you have your best ideas?
I tend to write best first in the morning. Like I'll bang out maybe 4 or 5 hours work from 9 till 1 o'clock, and I find once that's done, like my creativity starts to wane a little bit. But my best ideas, the ideas kind of come all the time. Like I'll just have a thought of something and I'll just put it in my notes. Like just grab the phone quick, put a note in there, and then get it out. Into like work it into kind of a more refined piece of copy the next day when I sit down again. But yeah, it's kind of once you start a project, it's kind of top of mind, and there's always ideas popping into your head.
Yeah, I do that too. A lot of times when I'm driving, and
Yeah.
I don't listen to music anymore. I always listen to podcasts or YouTube videos or something. But it's always something about marketing, and it don't have to be anything in particular. But something somebody will say, I'll get an idea, and I'm in a mastermind group on Skype with some other marketers, and I
Oh,
just
nice.
send a Skype to myself.
Yeah, nice. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so as long as you put it somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing, sometimes like often the ideas absolutely suck and you don't end up using it, but just like getting it out of your head, that's
Yep.
the way to go.
Yeah, and the way I do it, I don't know if it'll help anybody, but I put like there's this one I'm about to do about masterminding, kind of like we're doing now,
Mhm.
but I call it mastermind and chill. Kind of like Netflix and chill.
Uh-huh.
And but then I wrote Netflix and chill, and then I wrote like 3 or 4 kind of sub headlines for it to kind of explain it, so I don't forget what I was thinking about.
Yeah, nice.
But so, what did you between you failing and not doing so good to actually getting success? What did you do to change the results?
I think repetition's a lot of it. Like just like with anything, like a new skill, like you just got to build up that repetition and build up the ability to do it. So I think writing out those difficult moments and like being willing to suck, like if you can accept that and being open to learning from clients and yeah, just like taking on the feedback and continue to teach myself as well. So I was kind of like self-taught. Most things I do in life, this might be a good thing or a bad thing, but is I tend to be self-taught. So I just like all the books from the classics like Eugene Schwartz, Joe Sugarman, Dan Kennedy, all those sort of guys. I just like dug deep into all their copy, built out my copy swipe file, just like any reference points I could get like that, which you just, by looking at those and you're learning the way that they do things, like, and then building that into how I write copy, that was kind of what I did. It's just like a combination of that learning plus repetition, and over time just get better at it. And it's a kind of a subtle thing too, because it's like, I didn't ever feel like there's this one breakthrough moment where I'm like, all of a sudden, great, I can write really good copy. It was just like years and years and years of practice, and all of a sudden it just comes naturally.
Yeah, that's cool too, because you say like Dan Kennedy and there's other people, because it's cool because you learn from this guy and you learn from that guy, and in the end of it, you kind of like a collage of it. You kind of have your own style. It's somewhere in between, and
Yeah, definitely.
like that's the cool thing about like, so let's just assume we had everybody, auditors, marketers, and I was going to pick one. You pick one depending on which style you want. So that's cool because now you have that style that somebody could choose.
Yeah.
So we kind of talked about books. Do you recommend any books in particular?
Your breakthrough advertising, which I always get them confused. I think Joe Sugarman. What else is there? The Ultimate Sales Letter by Dan Kennedy is really good. I to go to. This isn't a book so much, but the boring letters, which are Gary Halbert's letters that he wrote from jail to his son, which is just like amazing. His writing style and his ability to like craft stories, like that's super interesting. I know a lot of people to learn how to write copy, they just like hand rewrite all those letters. Like I have actually never like actually went that route, but I know that's a route that a lot of people do just to get their head around how one of the best writes copy, and just the idea is that by writing with hand, it becomes more natural and kind of ingrains into your brain.
Yeah, I kind of did that. I did that because somebody told me to, and I think it's a really good idea. And just the reason why is because because one thing I heard is you learn all these things, and your mind only keeps like 10% of it, but what happens is it stores it in your memory bank somewhere like deep down inside. As you're writing, if you've hand copied all these things, you kind of remember it all. And at some point, you don't know where you get it from, but you just pull out, oh, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, that's my theory. I don't know if that's how it really works.
I mean, it sounds about right. I think if multiple people are taking that approach and it seems to work for people, that makes sense to me.
But I'll do it with emails too. And, I'll pick up like 3 or 4 different marketers that I really like, and I'll hand copy their emails.
Who are some of the marketers you like?
Ben Settle.
Yeah, I've got his book. His is one of the first things I bought.
Yeah, I bought like, hold on. Look here, right here. Ben Settle. You can't see it.
Yeah, nice. Yeah.
Brand Barbarian. I bought a whole bunch of Ben Settle stuff, and then eventually I decided I need to quit because I have so much that, and because what it was, I got on the email, the newsletter, paid $97 a month for.
Yeah, that's what I was on.
I decided I had a whole bunch of stuff, and I need to quit getting new stuff. But it's really valuable. The only thing I don't like about it is if you get out, he don't allow you to get back in.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's Ben Settle, Frank Kern. I like him a lot. Ian Stanley, Caleb O'Dowd. Those, and I kind of just stick to a couple. Like, I know I'm interviewing you, but you ever read Think and Grow Rich?
Yeah, of course.
You remember the mastermind chapter?
Probably vaguely if you mentioned the content of it.
He's got a chapter where he says to have a mastermind, because if, like, say you have 3 or 4 people in a mastermind, or say you have 2 people in a mastermind. Now, instead of having 2 brains, you have a third brain that kind of clicks between the 2 people.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I call it, I copy, I learn from everybody, all of those people, and I just call it the invisible mastermind, because they're not here. I just, when I'm writing, I think of what would that guy write,
Yeah.
And I don't really know I know it sounds weird, but it seems to help me.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of think of books as being mentors as well. Like these people are putting like all their thoughts into the book. Like if they've been doing it 20, 30, 40 years, you're essentially downloading all the information they have in their mind. So there's no reason you can't consider a book like a mentor either.
Yep. So I forgot what I was about to say. So what are some of the other people? I know you said, is there any particular people that you like to follow?
So Ben Siddle is one. Who else? What's his name? Ryan Dice. You know
Yeah.
Ryan Dice?
Yep.
Yeah, like his stuff, particularly his stuff. Have you ever seen? I don't know if he still owns it. He used to own it. The survivalist business that he had.
Oh yeah, for survivallife.com.
That's right. Yeah, like that is just like masterful in the way that he talks to the exact customer and like identifies their needs and pain points and everything. Like so that is like I'm not even necessarily part of that audience that he talks to, but I just sign up for that just because I love to see the way he writes his copy. To those two, but yeah, the old classic books. Ogilvy as well, obviously, he was like a classic copywriter back in the day too. So those are the guys. And I've got my own like swipe file in Evernote, which has got like hundreds of pieces of copy in it. Like anytime I'm online, if I see an awesome web page or an awesome sales page, I'll just like click it, add it to my copy swipe file, and then anytime I'm going to write, like go back and consult it. Like if I'm struggling for a little bit of inspiration, like just go through there and go, yeah, this is the way these guys do it. Particularly for like you're struggling to get going. Sometimes I find just going and reading good copy is all you need to just go, all right, like I've
Yeah.
got the gears turning now. Now I can start writing.
So a lot of people, one thing like a swipe file is a good and a bad thing at the same time, because you don't want to copy it, but that's what a lot of people do is they just kind of
Yeah.
copy it. And how do you use it? Do you just use it for inspiration?
Yeah. And like I would never like copy in terms of like using content, but if there's a page that's structured in a certain way that's like creatively structured that I might play around with that. But yeah, like I would never just straight take the copy. It's funny, you often see like I'll see one sales page one place on the internet and then another sales page elsewhere. And so it's like either this is a copywriter who's been hired and just written the same copy for the same client and the two different clients they don't realize, or they've just straight up ripped it off from somewhere else.
Yeah, I saw.
And
Oh, go ahead.
do you know the like that really famous um letter? I can't remember which, like the Wall Street Journal for one of those newspapers where there's like a letter that was made like $1 billion or something crazy like that, where it's all around. There's like talking about two different people who they meet up later in life, and one's more successful than the other, and it's simply
Oh,
because
yeah,
he's
I think it's like a tale of two brothers or something.
yeah, that one.
Yeah,
I've seen people rip that off so many times and use in different contexts.
me too. And it's like it's you ever wrestling, like
Uh-huh.
you ever watch wrestling as a kid?
Yeah.
And you think it's the coolest thing on earth, and now you watch it, you're like, this is so fake to watch.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about once people copy it. It's like this is just so fake.
Yeah. And like, yeah, I always want to like reach out to the person who's using it. So like, do you realize that this person just completely ripped it off, or maybe they do know and they don't care?
Yeah, and who's been here for a year or two, that you can just see right through it.
Yeah.
And I watched a YouTube video with this guy explaining his strategy for writing a sales page. And it's funny because right before that, I saw a sales page sales page, like a YouTube ad. It was a video sales letter, and the guy was reading everything, and everything I watched on the video, the second video, the guy describing it, he ripped it off from the first guy that was actually showing me the ad.
Yeah, I mean,
And I
it's
didn't know
rampant
who it
online.
threw off, but I went and I got curious, so I looked it up, and because I didn't want to accuse the wrong person.
Yeah. Did you say something to them?
No, I figured, I don't know if he uploaded it or somebody else uploaded it, but I figured if I put it in the comments, he would never see it.
Yeah.
But I guess you could put it in the comments so other people say this is a rip off of another guy, because
Yeah.
I just don't care for it. But all right, so where do people go to find you? Do you have like LinkedIn and everything?
Funny enough, yeah, like I don't actually have a website built or anything. Like I've just done all this through, like it's at a point now I just get referrals. So like all my copy just comes from referrals. So I don't really have a website, but LinkedIn, yeah, you can definitely find me on LinkedIn. If you just look up my name, Sebastian Kipman, I'll be on there. Not super active or anything, but yeah, that's where I am. If anyone ever wants to reach out to me.
Okay. Well, if you could send me the link, I'll leave it in the description of the
Yeah,
video.
for sure, man. Yeah, I'll do that after the call.
And all right, let's just do this scenario. Let's just assume that I'm first getting into copywriting, and I don't know anything. I don't have any clients or anything. Knowing what you know right now, what would you do to
So
get?
you just broke. Can you start that again? You just broke up a little bit then.
Oh, let's just pretend that I'm a new copywriter
Uh-huh.
and I don't have any results right now, no clients or nothing. Knowing what you know right now, what would you do to get your first couple clients?
Uh, might mean like I think if you've got an initial network of anyone who's got any sort of business, like even if it's something super obscure, like someone who your dad's best friend has a lawn mowing business locally or something like that, just like offer to do some work for them. Maybe you need to do like below that what you want to get paid, or even do it for free. Like that's the reality of potentially getting started. So I think look within your own network to start is the best place to start. That's what I did, and then don't be afraid to use. Like I know Upwork has a pretty bad reputation, and rightfully so in some aspects, but getting started on those platforms can be a good way to learn and get paid to learn. Again, making sure that you're not taking jobs you can't deliver on, but take jobs that you're confident you can deliver on, and just kind of build from there. And once you get that momentum, and confidence is a big thing with this, so like do that, prepare to suck. I think I said earlier on, but just be prepared to suck. Like to get good at anything, you have to suck at it first. So that's the reality of it.
Yeah, that's true. And if you are going to suck at it, you might as well suck at a low paying job. So it's
Exactly.
not like anybody's really losing a whole lot. I mean,
Exactly.
they are, you feel about it, but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. If it's a couple $100 and doesn't work out, you can hand it back and it's not going to affect you too much. But yeah, just start small and grow from there.
Yeah, no, when you say Upwork, it's got a bad reputation and the reason why is because it's kind of, in some aspects, it's kind of a race to the bottom, who could do it cheaper.
Yeah,
But we're
exactly.
not necessarily looking to get rich off of it. We're just looking for the results and the testimonial.
Yeah, that's right. And it's a good way to learn. Like you said, build up that. Often, if you get few good clients on that, they can become regular clients. And that's all about that momentum and building that momentum over time.
Yeah. Uh, well, that's about it, because we're at the 30-minute mark and that's how long we usually go. But you're super helpful.
Thanks, man. It was great to chat to you. I love the idea of a podcast about copy, and I'm interested to hear the insights from the other folks you talk to as well. So whenever they go live, feel free to let me know because I'd love to listen and hear what others have to say. Because that's the thing with this game too. Like you're always learning, even though like I feel like I'm a fair way into it now. Like there's always opportunities to learn.
Yeah, and the thing is, I don't know of any. There might be some. I just don't know of any podcasts that somebody brand new could just come in and learn. And it's not like super high level people. We're just regular people. And
Yeah.
so what I'm doing here is because I have questions I need to learn, and in the same process, I can help other people learn.
Yeah, it's a great way to do it, man. I love this approach. Like I've heard of